But anyhow, beyond that day off, we had, an opportunity for 3 weekends of R&R once every 3 months. My first R&R, I went to Chiang Mai, which was in the northwest of Thailand. My second one, I went to Kadena Air Force Base in Okinawa, because there's a huge Air Force base exchange there, and I wanted to buy a new camera. And then my third one, I went to Bangkok. That was my last one, because I wanted to go check out Bangkok for the weekend that I'd be leaving permanently to return to the States. And everybody talked about Nick's #1 restaurant as having the finest Kobe beef in the world. And so that's where I went, and I ordered Kobe beef and French onion soup, just like everybody else who went to Nick's #1. And it was truly delectable. Very expensive for the time. I think the steak was $35, and I understood later that if you bought it in Japan, it was several times that. In addition to our primary jobs of briefing and debriefing, and all this atmosphere was secret or top secret. Our daily stuff was secret, and then we had materials of a top secret nature in our library that we also had to worry about. The briefings varied from simple 2-ship flights going into relatively easy, lightly defended areas to what we call big gaggles or big shows. And the big gaggle or big show was a room that was not quite this big, but there was seating in there for over 50 people, in addition to executive officer seating down front. And the executive officer was the wing commander, the vice wing commander, and various other bigwigs who they might invite to the big gaggles. The only exception to that was the base mascot, Roscoe. Roscoe was a golden retriever that was a friend of everybody on the base, and he went wherever he wanted. And if the wing commander wasn't sitting in his chair, that's where Roscoe lay. In addition to this room, and this is where we had all, like I said, all of the briefings for the flights that were going downtown. And that meant they were going down into the really heavily defended area around Hanoi. And some of the write-ups in the newspapers at the time contended that this was the most heavily defended real estate in the world, with AAA from 23 to 35, 57, and then 85 and 100. And the smaller ones up through 57 were like flak that they called popcorn balls when they went off. And the big ones were big boomers that would rock their world even if they came close. And then, of course, there were the surface-air missiles, and they were a problem. They were the main problem for our guy. At first, the North Vietnamese wouldn't even send up their fighters when they were planning on using SAMs against our folks, but as time went on, they got more daring and would employ those folks, the MiGs, at the same time that they would use the SAMs. Now, although I have described and talked about intelligence briefings, we were one of 3 different groups who briefed at every one of these occasions. We also had operations briefings who would brief them on call signs, all of the operational aspects of their radio communications and their tankers. Every flight that ever went out of Perak used air-to-air refueling, because it was impossible for them to get to their target and get back without it. And for big gaggles, when they were going into the Hanoi area, they would refuel going in and inevitably refuel coming back out in order to get back home. The briefing officer's work started every night at about 11 o'clock because the first flights that he was briefing was about 3 o'clock in the morning. And then he would go through a cycle of briefing approximately 6 different groups until his 4 to 6, depending on what the scheduling was for the day. And this would go on until roughly 7 o'clock in the morning. His tour would end, and the afternoon flight's briefer would come in and take over. The afternoon briefer had exactly the same kind of day, except that he had to put up with returning air crews and other day workers wandering through his work area. Most of the work to prepare for all of this, the actual physical things, went into a thing called the Combat Mission Folder, which was classified secret. And the Combat Mission Folder had photographs of the target they were going against. It had the map of the target area, refueling area, and every area that was anticipated these guys would fly over. And they were constructed from maps that were made originally in St. Louis, Missouri at the Aeronautical Charting and Information Center, ACIC. And the reason that they had to build special maps was because on occasion when a target would be right on the edge of a published map, well, if they didn't put 2 maps together, or 3 or 4 if it was down in a corner, a lot of the area that the pilot was going to be dealing with would be off the map, so to speak. So it took our guys, a team of 5, about 8 hours to assemble all of the materials for the flights for the coming day. And if they didn't get it all done in 8 hours, they just worked until it was finished. That was one of the things that I learned over there. Nobody goes home with work left for tomorrow except what happens. The debriefing schedule was posted on the board every morning when we came to work about 7:30 by the senior guy. And while I was there, we had just about all lieutenants that were doing the briefing and debriefing. I'll give you a little vignette of an exception to that in a few minutes. But we worked it kind of like whoever is available when the next group of guys come in, they're the one that takes the place, regardless of what the schedule says. About 3 weeks after I got to Korat, I got notice that Major Olson wanted to see me. And I said, "What do you want to see me about?" Nobody knew. So I went in and reported and said, "You wanted to see me, sir?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, "I got in a message this morning that I have a requirement to provide an intelligence officer to fly on board an airborne command post, and want to know if you're interested in flying." I said, "Well, I've flown before. I have 3.5 years of flying experience. I have a list of 2-member wings recruited. Where's this command post flying?" He said, "Well, it's a dog patch and it flies over Laos." I said, "Well, sir, if it flies over Laos, I can't go." And he looked at me incredulously and he said, "Huh? What do you mean you can't go?" Like a mere lieutenant would tell him what he couldn't do. And I said, "Well, it's simple." I said, "I was in a highly classified job before I came here. And as I was debriefed, one of the things they told me was that I could not go to, through, or even fly over any country that was Soviet-leaning, or Soviet-friendly. And among all those countries listed, Laos was on the list. So I can't go." He said, "Show me." He said it with kind of a sneer. So I said, "Well, back to Hooch. I got to go back there." So he said, "Get it." So I went back to Hooch, got my paper, came back, and went in without even knocking, and I just handed him the paper. He never acknowledged that what I had said was true. He just handed the paper back to me. He said, "You don't want to lose this." I said, "Yeah, right." Well, within 10 minutes, he called on First Lieutenant Bob Dittamasso. And this time, he told Bob that the reason he picked him was because he was the only unmarried officer working under him. And I thought that was curious that his criteria had changed from earlier to me being the new guy to Bob being the only unmarried guy. Within a day, Bob was on the Clum going to Udorn, where Dogpatch flew out of, which is in the north of Thailand, and he started flying on Dogpatch immediately. We started getting letters back from him to his buddies, my coworkers, and he started telling us about his experiences of flying on Dogpatch. And by the second week of his being there, one of the letters said that they were flying over North Vietnam today. And I couldn't believe that anybody would fly an unarmed C-47 Gooney-Bird from World War II over North Vietnam and a very heavily defended area. My thought and statement was, well, if they keep doing that, they're not going to last long. Within a month, we got a message saying the Dogpatch was down, and that Dogpatch, there were a number of those airplanes using the same call sign, was never heard from again. Bob's parents ultimately got his military ID card, the personal belongings that he had in his quarters in Thailand. That's it. His name is not on the wall in Washington, D.C. because the war in Laos was a CIA covert war. It was never recognized by anybody, and therefore he just is treated as a non-entity. I feel fortunate every day since April 1966 that I'm still living, because basically it could have been me that went down on Dogpatch instead of Bob if I hadn't had that security. So that was one of my most lasting memories. And I did talk to his sister many years later after the book that I'm going to talk about in a minute came out. I was motivated to contact old buddies and talk about it. But this is the first time that I've ever talked about my experiences over there. Not that there was anything outrageous that happened to me, but it just never felt right. And when Andrew Benner asked me to speak today, I said yeah, and then after giving it some thought, I thought, this would be a good time to talk about this. When I first got there, the wing was the 6234th. It was a provisional wing, and about 2 or 3 months later, it was disestablished and replaced by a newly constituted wing called the 388. About the same time, we got 2 more squadrons, so we went from 2 squadrons to 4 squadrons. Excuse me, I'm getting signs back there. I talked too long. But anyhow, this is what we dealt with from there on out. I've got 3 books here that deal with this war. This one covers the year that I was there, 1966. And the writer is a friend of mine, Ed Rasmus. And this one was his second tour where he went over there to fly the F-4. He also is a co-writer of this one with the daughter of the guy who's the subject of this book, named Colonel Robin Old. I commend these to you for further reading, I apologize for taking so long, but I live in McClure, and if you should happen to be a winner of one of the books, or if you want to order these, they're all readily available from Books A Million. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to entertain them. But right now we're going to have the drawing for the two books by Hilda. And we have two of the When Thunder Rolls books. One for young people through high school age and one for adults. So if you don't have tickets, I guess we have time for that. But if somebody, you want to draw a ticket?
Yep, it's for young people for 6965446.
Everybody got that number?
The last three number is 546.
546 for the last three.
White ticket.
Anybody have that number? Last chance. 546.
546. So that's three numbers.
546. Okay, pull another number.
The last number is 549.
549.
White ticket.
Back here. Back here.
We have a winner?
Yeah.
All right. The book is over here at the table, young man. Over here.
Over here.
I'm just the mouthpiece. Okay, so that a young man gets that. Hopefully he'll be motivated to become a fighter pilot. Now the next one is for an adult.
Okay, the last three numbers 498.
498.
Right there.
Okay, this lady up here, 498. You don't have to get it now. You can pick it up on the way out. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon.